want? What you want? Come on. What you want? What you want? Come.
Hi guys, Aceface here, back with another Batrep, and I've got a special Batrep today. As you might notice from the board, I am playing Mr. IDICBeer. Hi Nick.
Hi guys.
And he has decided to have another go at seeing if he can take down my Hive fleet. So today we are playing 3,000 points, hence the massive amount of models on the board, and we have rolled up and are playing the Relic. So the Relic is this awesome piece of terrain in the middle that we will be able to move when someone captures it. There's also a bit of terrain there flashing in the middle. So the Necrons are making sure they're guarding their tomb world and going to get this Relic back to safety before the swarm absorbs it. So let's quickly have a look at the Tyranid list. So I'll start off with the HQ. I have Swarmlord leading it, just more or less more for the buffs more than anything. And I'm playing Leviathan False Org, so I have extra 2 slots HQ. So I have 2 Flying Hive Tyrants, both with Electro Grubs. I then have in Troop Choice 3 troops, which is the Tervagan and Tervagan Tax, which is the 30 Gaunts. I then also have a Mucilid Spore, which is just there for a cheap extra 3rd unit. I then have a Malanthrope for cover, which is always handy, and I have a Void Shield Generator Network Relay. So I have the central piece, which is this one with barricades leading to the 2 additional Void Shields. So I have 5 shields in all, which is going to be handy, you'll see in a minute. I also have in reserve 2 Daves, Necrons, both in Tyranids with Barb Stranglers. And let's have a look at Nick's Necrons. So I'm going to hand you over to Nick, who can talk them through, because there is, as you can see here, quite a few Necrons. So do you want to take that away, Nick?
Aye. Okay, so I've got the Necron Pylon, super heavy there. I'm using the Reclamation Legion with the Decorium. I have 40 warriors, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here and 10 here. Got the Tomb Blades over there. Got Traslin here with his Immortals. I have 2 Canoptic Harvests, full squads of Wraiths, 7 Scarabs and a Tomb Spider, one with the Gloom Prism. I've infiltrated 3 units of 20 Flayed Ones, and that's it.
So pretty scary stuff, because Nids are not normally outnumbered. They are quite often in my list, but this is seriously outnumbered. And if people aren't aware, the pylon has got D shots, hence the Void Shield. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm going to have a lot of Necrons on me pretty quick if I'm not careful. I have tried to steal the initiative. Nick was going first. I failed the seize roll, so we go into Necrons turn 1. So, bottom of turn 1 for the Necrons. The wave of Necrons makes their ascent on the Tyranids. Everything came forward. A couple of Scarabs were generated from the spiders. Then, in the shooting phase, the pylon started to try and take out the Tiny. So, it's used its D weapon to try and strip away the shields. Nick rolled pretty badly and only managed to take out one of the shields from that. The warriors that are just over there did just get in range of the termagants, so they could shoot at the other void shield, so that again took down one of those layers. So it's down to 3 layers now at the moment, so it's a little bit depleted, but probably the important thing is the in the middle there, they have taken the relic, and there is so many Necrons around it. The aim of the game is going to be very, very difficult, so we shall see how we get on as we go into Tyranid turn 1. So bottom of Tyranid turn 1, pretty uneventful turn, could have been a lot better for me. So the 2 Flying Hive Tyrants went into swooping, so they came forward, but stayed within the boundaries of the Void Generator. Very sensible with a Skyfire pylon close by. So they did that. Everything else pretty much shuffled around. The Gaunts came forward. Nothing major happened in the psychic phase. I tried to horror the flayed ones, but even I got both of them through. Nick rolled particularly well in his leadership, so they were not pinned, which is a bit of a shame. And then on the shooting phase, the 2 Hive Tyrants unloaded their Devourers into the flayed ones, took out a few, took down sort of some from both units, not particularly damaged. All the shenanigans with the decorums meant that the flayed ones are very, very resilient. After that, Tiny, the main event, put his Spore Mind barrage onto the warriors, hoping to get rid of them. It scatters a little bit, still got multiple targets, took a lot of wounds on the wraiths and on the warriors. Didn't roll particularly well to wound, but still quite a good opportunity to take down quite a few. Nick saved them all, so just shows the resilience of the new Necrons, but all to play for as we go into Necron turn 2. So bottom of Necron turn 2, good turn for the Necrons, but it could have been worse for me. So what happened was everything continued to come up, apart from the Wraiths, who've now retrieved the relic, and they're on their way back to their catacombs, as they sort of dash back across the board as the rest of the Necrons part like a sea to let them through. Everything else just continued to come up. The warriors in the shooting phase tried to take out the shield by targeting the Gaunts. They didn't do too badly, but I did get lucky, managed to sort of stay up. And then the pylon also blasted at the shield. I was petrified because potentially the shield could have been down before the even pylon got to shoot, but luckily it didn't get through it. But when the pylon shot, it really fluffed again, so that's 2 turns I got quite lucky with the pylon. It only took 1 shield down, so we're still on 2 layers on the shields. Hopefully I'll regen some in my turn, but that was shooting. In the assault phase, the flayed ones that got as close as they could charged into the Gaunts. I killed 1 on Overwatch. When they managed to get into combat, they absolutely obliterated the Gaunts. Ridiculous amounts of attacks. In fact, I just it was over 40 wounds, and with it being AP5, didn't even get a save. So yeah, pretty horrendous. But all to play for as we go into Tyranid turn 2. So, bottom of Tyranid turn 2, Dimakaron came dropping down just due to the fear from the pylon. Instead of going forward, he ran back in the shooting phase to try and get within the shield. The Flyrants dropped down just because again they needed standard shields, just for pure being petrified of that pylon, and they shot all their shots at the flayed ones after they minced the gaunts. So combination of them and the flamer from the Tervigon took the flayed ones down to just 2. Still couldn't wipe them off, which just shows how resilient they are. Then the psychic phase, I managed to pin both units of warriors, which was an awesome turn up, because that sort of protects the shield a little bit as well. And then when we went into shooting phase, the initial spore mine cluster that went onto over here on the warriors did a bit of damage, but again, just due to the resilientness of the Necrons, they're really hard to get rid of too many of them. After that, Tiny again tried his luck with his biocannons, rolled really hot, especially due to the Swarm Lord's preferred enemy buff, and so if we scan over here, that is the remains of the pylon. So got really lucky. Nick struggled with his invons, and too many hits got through. The luck though was that the catastrophic explosion didn't cause any damage to the Necrons, so there's still masses and masses of them everywhere, and that relic is in amongst it, so it's still going to be tough for me to get much out of this. But now with that out of the way, we can go on the offensive as we go into Necron turn 3. So end of turn 3 for the Necrons. With the pylon gone, it changes the direction somewhat. Everything continued on its ascent on the Tyranids. Everything spread out into where the pylon was. They're pretty much filling up most of the board, so it's becoming quite difficult to move. In the shooting phase, the warriors obviously were snap shooting, so they didn't really do anything. What are the little jet bike things called? Tomb Blades shot at the Demacaron. They couldn't get through the shield, but we did manage to get it down to 1, so it's down to 2 shields now. And then in the assault phase, the flayed ones charged in against the Tyranid and took that out easily. Even on like half the attacks, still couldn't keep the thing alive. So they are amazing in combat. And then the Wraiths dashed in against the Hive Tyrant. I got quite lucky because really I think that probably the Hive Tyrant should have gone down, but he's still on 2 wounds, but didn't manage to dish out any pain in return. Just that free up invon can just be so tough to get through. So I've just rolled for my reserves, and the second Demacaron will drop this turn. And now Tiny's a bit more freed up to do what he wants to, so it's going to be interesting as we go into Tyranid turn 3. So end of turn 3 for the Tyranids. Interesting turn. It's become a lot more sort of level playing field now. The pylon's out and everything started moving around. It's quite evident now how much of a big task it's going to be trying to whittle these Necrons down, just the sheer volume of them. But still, decent-ish turn. So over the far side, the Demacaron dropped down from the Tyranid, just basically where I wanted him to be, just the other side there of the wreckage. Then everything else kind of moved forward. Tiny decided to come away from his safety of his void shield and start to try and get some action, and so did the Demacaron and the other Hive Tyrant as they kind of made their advance on the Necron line. In the psychic phase, I tried to pin the 2 Necron warrior units, failed this time, which is a bit of a shame. I did manage to get off Feel No Pain on the other Hive Tyrant, and I did Perils though as well in that phase. In the shooting phase, fairly successful, slightly better now. I haven't got to worry about the 5-up invon from the pylon. The big spore barrage went over in the middle and actually cleaned up quite a lot of the scarabs as well as the flayed ones, which was handy. The biocannons now not so great. failed to do anything. I had to put some shots into the flayed ones because I wanted to assault them, and I split it between those and the little jet bike thingamajigs, but it didn't do anything at all. In the assault phase, the Flyrant and the Dimmacharon, as well as Tiny, tried to charge the flayed ones. Tiny couldn't get in, but Dimmacharon and the Hive Tyrant were more than a match for the flayed ones on the charge. Cut them down pretty considerably. They couldn't do anything in return. Tried to run them down, but they actually got away. So they're running at the moment, which is a bit of a pain, but we did manage to kill them off in combat, which was good. Over here, which was kind of inevitable, the Wraiths did pretty much what Wraiths did, do very, very well. They managed to take any punishment without seeing any wounds come back on them, and then they finished off the last wound of the Hive Tyrant. So that went down. Just a side note, the cheeky flayed one hiding down here got flamed and shot at from the flesh borers. One of them went down, there's one left, so he's just there. But yeah, the relic is still with the Wraiths there in the middle, and pretty much bubble wrapped by a lot of other Necron units. So it's going to be a tough task. Still quite a lot of shooting in the Necrons, so they have the ability to whittle down this monstrous creature threat. But now Tiny's unleashed. We'll just see how much damage he can do as we go into Necron turn 4. So, bottom of Necron's turn 4, an eventful turn, starts to become a lot more assaulty. So, what's happened? Well, the relic has been shuffled slowly but surely into that corner over there, which is becoming harder and harder to get close to, but it should be interesting as we go forward. Other than that, things started to spread out a little bit, which is starting to make a bit of space. So the warriors kind of shuffled around here. The Wraiths that had dispensed with the Tyrant the turn before made an advance on Dave. The Scarabs broke off from where they were and went towards the Tyrant, and the other Scarabs went towards Dave and the Tyrannocyte over there. In the shooting phase, nothing massively happened. The Warriors and the Immortals all sort of split their shooting between the Tyrant and the Dimmacharon on the far side. Didn't really do too much, took a wound off the Dimmacharon, a couple of wounds off the Hive Tyrant. Actually not a couple of wounds, yeah, actually no, they did take a couple of wounds off the Hive Tyrant. Then in the assault phase, everything sort of sprang to action. The Wraiths charged the Dimmacharon. Didn't do well at all. The Dimmacharon actually, he really hit hard. Nick rolled pretty well on his saves. Took out one, which was a start. But then, even though he didn't actually get too many wounds through on the Dimmacharon, I failed every single save I had to make. So he's actually only down to one wound. So that's not great, because I think he would have had the chance if he had a few more wounds, but never mind. The Hive Tyrant, he is down to one wound now. He struck back. With the reanimation protocol given to the by the spider, the Scarabs were quite hard to shift, and that means they had quite a lot of attacks coming back at him. And even with just low strength, they've managed to take his second to last wound off, so he's only got one left. So it's still all to play for. I think this one's going to be down to whether we go the long game. I don't think I can get close enough to Nick to potentially take him out in 5 turns, but in 6 turns, who knows? Hopefully we can get Tiny in some action over the next turn, but we'll have to see as we go into Tyranid turn 4. So, bottom of Tyranid turn 4. An interesting turn. It could have gone better. I kind of had a master plan. Some of elements of it worked, others didn't. But just to run you through it, basically the Tiny carried on up as far as he could get. The plan was to start slingshotting through to get where I need to. The Dimmacharon carried on a long leap, uses leaper to get across the terrain, assaulted the Scarabs. The Tervagun tried to get rid of this last little flayed one, so he moved up there. And then in the psychic phase, the Hive Tyrant got off the horror on the flayed ones, so they're pinned, which is awesome because don't really need them causing extra grief. Other than that, we didn't do much else in the psychic phase, a bit more reduced. Then in the shooting phase, I really kind of made a bit of a blunder. For a start, two things. One, I really should have picked off these spiders earlier. I kind of realised that was a real tactical blunder because it probably would have made life a bit easier, but realising what I needed to do, tried to factor that in and split his biocannons to 6 shots on each. Took out one of them, which was great, but the other one has hung on in there on 1 wound, which is a pain. But what that also meant was then I only had the blast to try and give myself a target to assault. Actually couldn't make the blast fit around those flayed ones there, which meant then that I couldn't assault them. So Tiny slowed down somewhat, which is a bit of a pain. Then actually in the assault phase, Necron over there, he did alright, but the reanimation did manage to keep the scarabs pretty much in one piece, but they're all held up there. Hive Tyrant did really well. He's managed to hang on to his last wound, which is good, and he managed to take away a few of the scarab swarms as well. So he's hanging in there, but there's 5 scarab swarms there, so that could tie him up to the end of the game. The Necron also did really well. After the appalling show that he had in the last round, he really dominated those wraiths and killed a few. So they're actually quite reduced down. They're now to just a 3. So even though he's only got 1 wound left, he has got his pain token, so the feel no pain's doing him well, and potentially he might manage to deal with them, but we'll have to see as we go into Necron turn 5. Right, so bottom of turn 5 for the Necrons. Decent turn. They're doing very well at bubble wrapping that relic and making life very difficult for me. So the flayed ones that were around here helped the wraiths in combat over there, and then the wraiths helped the scarabs that were attacking the Necron there. I can't remember what they're called again. Tomb Blades. The Tomb Blades sort of moved up again just to kind of put another layer of protection around that. They then in the shooting phase took a few pot shots at Tiny and actually took a wound. So Tiny goes down 1 wound. I thought he was going to be unscratched, but he's taken a wound. See whether he regenerates that next turn. Other than that, in the actual assault phase, the wraiths and the flayed ones took out the last wound from the Necron, took him out and consolidated back into that area, giving himself 2 layers to try and get through. Over here, the wraiths did well, with a combination of themselves and the scarabs took the Necron down to 1 wound. I did manage to get another pain token back, which is good. Other than that, I didn't do so well against the scarabs, so the Hive Tyrant's still very much locked in there. It's not going to go anywhere quick. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's in the bag for Nick if it finishes turn 5. I've got a couple of things I can do, but we'll have to see as we go into Tyranid turn 5. So, end of Tyranid turn 5. I had a master plan trying to get them off the relic, but we'll just see how we got on. So, Tiny carried on to try and slingshot and try and get close to the action, which he's really kind of struggled with. And the Swarm Lord also came up alongside him. Pretty much everything else was already kind of involved in combat, so there's not a lot that could happen. in the psychic phase, I managed to get horror off again and pinned the flayed ones, which must be getting very frustrated as they keep getting pinned. Then, other than that, in the shooting phase, Tiny directed half his shots at the spider to try and to get rid of him, and I did at last. And then the other 6 shots went into the wraiths to try and allow me to assault them. His big spore mine barrage went right over the way here, and this was my only chance really. Thought if I could barrage these Necrons off the relic, then I could leave that unmanned, and if the game finished, potentially could have grabbed hold of a draw. But that did mean I needed to take these guys out of my deployment zone, and with there being 2 units down there, that was always going to be pretty tough. But there was chances, so I used my shooting attack from the Turvigan to put the Misma cannon over onto the flayed ones. But Nick made all of his reanimation protocols on them. Then when Tiny crashed into combat, it didn't do anything at all. So really fluffed. Well, I say fluffed, he did decent, but when you've got 3-up invuln, it's always a reliable save, and the Wraiths didn't lose any. When they struck back, they couldn't also do anything to Tiny. On the stomp, I had 1 stomp and I rolled a 1. So that was disastrous as well. But they are locked in combat over there. The 2 other big guys went down, so eventually the Hive Tyrant just couldn't get enough to kill the Scarabs off, and they took his last wound, so he went down. And the Dimmacaron also went down eventually, just couldn't hold on against the Wraiths, even though he did pretty well. He went down as well. So it's quite tough for the Tyranids. There's pretty much no chance of me getting to that relic now. It's going to be pretty much an uphill battle, and we've just rolled and the game will go on. So we'll see what I can try and scrap out of this, but it's going to be tough as we go into Necron turn 6. So bottom of turn 6 for Necrons. It was quite a quiet turn until the end, so basically the Necrons all did what they should be doing, which is consolidating with the relic. So they've all bunched back, put as many bodies around that relic as they possibly can, and let the more assault units take centre stage. So the Scarabs sort of came forward to try and hold up Tiny, and obviously the race was still in combat. So that was more or less it. The other guy just sits here, just pulling fingers and all sorts up at the Turvigan. In the assault phase, both the Scarabs and the Wraiths went down to Tiny's stomp more than anything. So he stomped and he got a 6. So after killing the Scarabs just with regular attacks, the stomp took out the Wraiths. So Tiny is free to roam, which will just add a bit of entertainment to potentially the last turn as we go into Tyranid turn 6. Okay, so the bottom of Tyranid turn 6. Tried to make my advance on the relic as much as I possibly could. The Swarm Lord just about got in sight of the flayed ones, so I attempted to make the charge after trying to Warp Blast them. The Warp Blast scattered off, so didn't get anywhere with that. Then the charge, I was out of range, didn't do well at all, I only rolled a 3. Tiny put most of his shooting in to try and take out those Immortals. They used half of the bio cannons as well as the barrage, and just didn't manage to get anywhere. He made all his saves, so they didn't take any casualties at all. After that, the remaining bio cannons went into the Wraiths, and then Tiny charged them. He didn't manage to do anything in the assault at all, and the stomps are pretty useless as well. Did manage to take out a poor pinned flayed one that was out in the back, but didn't really get anywhere. So it's pretty much there. We have just rolled, and it is going on to turn 7, so we'll see what Tiny can do as he makes his slow plod up the battlefield to see whether he can do anything. But we're pretty much just playing for laughs now because it's pretty much out there, but we'll just see what I can hang on to as we go into Necron turn 7. So, end of the game, we played both turn 7s. It was pretty irrelevant at this stage, but sort of decided we'd finish it off anyway. So, in the Necron turn, they just continued to do what they've done for the last few turns, which was just try and slow me down in anything that's going to cause any danger. So, everything that could assaulted Tiny. So the literally everything joined in the assault. In my turn, well, in Necron turn, Tiny just didn't do well at all. Stomps were poor. He didn't really do well in his attacks. When it came to Tyranid turn 7, Swarmlord eventually got into combat. So he got in combat with the Tomb Blades, and so did the Malanthrope as well. And then Tiny was obviously stuck in with them all. The assault went pretty well for me, but just so much to get through, and without any shooting it was already over. So the Swarmlord and the Malanthrope killed quite a lot, caused both the Flayed Ones and the Tomb Blades to run off, whittled down. The final Wraith, Invincible Wraith, I can't tell you how many free-ups Nick made on that Wraith, it's criminal, but he eventually went down. And the Scarabs are just kind of locked in there because they're fearless. But yeah, really good game. In the end, Necrons just were too tough to break down at the back. I just did not have the numbers to threaten them. So they're sitting very cosy there on the relic and have been for a while now. And Nick's played a blinder really. I couldn't ask really for a better opponent. It was a tough game till the end. I did pretty much everything I could. We dealt with the biggest threat, and then after that it was whether we could get in quick enough and cause enough damage. And then ultimately, as much as Tiny's a beast, he can't do it on his own, and we just ran out of troops to assault with. So in the end I didn't get any points, so a real bad loss for me on points wise. But actually, the closer the game was getting, it was getting closer and closer until the end. So great game. Thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't already, of course you have, but please do go and check Nick's channel out. I'll put a link down below. Jump on, you'll be able to see this Batrep from a Necron point of view. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but it's worth going over and checking it out. But until the next video, thanks a lot for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.